What's up, guys, and welcome to the channel. This is Tyler Tote. I was recently on a coaching call and asked a question by one of my clients. He said, Ty, what do you think is the one characteristic, maybe something that's missing from me right now to get to the successful levels that I want to be? I'm doing all right, but this dream life that I want to create, I feel like I'm in the mud a little bit. I'm in murky waters. It's one of our first coaching calls and a pretty common question I get, and I always go to the same answer. And so I shared a little story with him. I want to share that story with you today and what I believe that one characteristic that if you solve this one thing, life becomes pretty limitless. So let's dive in. So we'll start out by kind of laying the groundwork here. This story happened about 4.5, 5-ish years ago. I had started a self-improvement journey, got my body in kind of the better shape that I wanted. I was still managing a bank and working 45-ish hours a week there and 5 hours of travel. So I was gone a lot, away from home quite a bit. And I knew I had this vision in my head of the life I wanted to create. In fact, I just got in right now from an hour-and-a-half walk with my wife after playing at the park with my kids this morning. This is the life I wanted to create and get on the other side of it. But to be quite honest, in the early phases, I started writing on Twitter. I had a couple hundred followers, but wasn't sure that was going to amount to anything. I knew I wanted to put out a course, an ebook, and tell people how I had gotten into shape. But I had started writing it and stopped, and then started and stopped a couple times with no clear vision to finish. I'd started some coaching stuff and coached a few people for a little bit, but hadn't really gone all in with it yet. And that was the pattern in my life. I want to write the book. I like the idea of writing the book or the course or whatever that was, but there wasn't a lot of follow through. And then one day it happened, and this is the biggest thing in the story that I told my client that I'd like to share now. I was talking to a couple really good buddies and a coach that night in a group chat. And I said, you know what, man, I'm ripping off pull-ups now like a beast. And one of my buddies, Zach Comwell, I love this guy to death, put him up here, my coach, my mentor. I think he said something to the effect of, how many can you do in a day? And I said, man, I did 250 a couple days ago, but I think I could actually do 750 in a day if I really put my mind to it. I think I could wake up a little early and I could knock out 750 pull-ups in a day. And he said, okay, man, let me know how it goes tomorrow. I said, all right, challenge accepted, right?
Challenge accepted.
So I had told myself I'm going to wake up the next day, I'm going to do 750 pull-ups. So I set the alarm a little bit earlier. I remember hitting to the gym, ripping off. I think I got through about 400-ish, somewhere in there in the morning. Then I come home, do the family thing, hit the bank. At lunch break at the bank, I get to rip off about 120 more. So now we're at like 520. I come home from work. I play with the kids a little bit while they're eating. I hit the garage and I get down to where I believe I couldn't remember either 117 left or 127 left. My family goes to bed, read the bedtime stories. My wife is asleep. My kids are asleep. Now I am sitting alone and it's 9:15. And I'll never forget, man, having somewhere 120-ish left. And my lats are just on fire. My shoulders are on fire. And that little voice starts coming in. Type, nobody on earth of 8 billion people, there's not one person that's going to care if you finish these pull-ups. Just go to bed. Type, this is foolish, man. Go to sleep. It's probably better for your body at this point to get the rest than it is to go out and do this silly pull-up thing that doesn't matter. You don't have any money on it. You don't have anything on it, right? Nobody's going to care. Your kids are still going to love you the same. Your wife, nothing's going to change about it. And so I was real close to just being like, dude, like 600 and some's a great day. And something came up in me right there. And I had this thing that said, you know what, man, you've told yourself you're going to do a book and a course and you never have. You told yourself you're going to be really dedicated to social media and puts the work into it and you're half in. Don't continue this pattern. When you promise yourself something, it doesn't matter. If the whole world doesn't care, man, 8 billion people on this planet, not one other person did it matter if I hit that 750, but it mattered to me. I promised myself. And I will never forget something rising up in me 4.5 years ago. I trudged down to that frickin' garage at 9:15 at night. And at this time, I could do 3, 4 at a time. And I needed to rest a minute. 3, 4, rest a minute. 3, 4, rest a minute. And I got 751 pull-ups that day. And nobody cared except me. And when I laid my head down on that bed that night, I remember writing in my journal, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm going to finish what I start. And that was a big pattern for me for 34, 35 years. And I see this with so many clients and so many of my friends and myself for so long in my life. We like the idea of creating that dream life. We like the idea of having that much money in our bank account. We like the idea of our faith looking like this. We like the idea of our marriage looking like this. when it's time to put the work in, and when we promise ourselves, sometimes we let ourselves off the hook, and we're master rationalizers as human beings. And once you have this realization that, yeah, your brain is really just designed to keep you safe. It's how humans are still here, man. For 10,000 years, our threats were a lot more dangerous than they are today. So your brain is actually telling you, don't go down in that garage, man. Just lay in bed. It's more comfortable there. It's safe there. Your alarm goes off in the morning. What's the first thought you have in your head? I had it today. It's just snooze, man. Stay in bed. It's safer here. It's safe. You don't need to go to the gym and get out there and run and do the things that you know you should do. Stay in here. It's safer. Hey, man, you want to write the book, but dude, turn on Netflix. Just watch the show. Just take it easy. Just safe, comfort. Our brains are designed to keep us comfortable and keep us safe. Another big reason for that is feedback. And, I told my buddy, what you're really scared of is feedback. And when I really broke down my thing and said, why don't I have integrity to myself? This one important thing, when I promise myself I'm going to write the book, why have I not written the book? When I promise myself, this is the life I'm going to create, why have I not gone all in and created that life? It's feedback. For 34 years of my life, I cared what other people thought. And if people told me this or that, it really bothered me. It affected me. I wanted people to like me. And this is why I believe people stay in comfortable jobs. When I left my job, I got called an idiot and foolish and a moron and not a good dad and not a provider and all of these things by many, many people online and in real life. I didn't care, man. I had the vision in my head. I knew I had put the work in, laid the groundwork to create the exact life that we wanted. I didn't need the validation, the approval of other people. But I truly believe this is why people sit and watch Netflix every night, 3, 4, 5 hours a day. I think it's 4.5 hours a day the average American watches television or some crazy stat like that. It's because there's no feedback. If you're watching a Netflix show and you don't like the Netflix show, you just change the channel. There's no feedback in it. But when you write the book, put the course out, start the email list, whatever that is, yeah, you're going to hear things. I've been mailed 3, 4 hate letters now by an old classmate or some deranged person like this that's feedback. They don't like what I put out there, right? Every day on social media, just eclipsed a couple 100,000 followers on Twitter. Man, every day I put anything out that I could literally say, have a great day. And I'll get negative feedback from that. How could we have a good day with what's happening over in Ukraine, right? I get these people that come at you. So you have to have, number one, integrity to yourself. And if you solve that in your head and you say, you know what, I'm going to this cookout. I'm not drinking any beer tonight and I'm going to have one dessert. I promise me, that's what I'm going to do. You know what? I'm promising myself, I'm giving myself a deadline on this book or this course or the content creation, whatever it is. By this time, I'm going to do that. That's a promise to myself. I'm going to start getting up every morning and working out or walking or doing runs or whatever it is. I'm promising me, and that's enough. And when you solve that in your mind, I swear to you, the whole world opens up. You become limitless because you can just have a vision in your head, say, I want to create it. There's no barrier there that I'm not willing to work through. I promised me. And so maybe you're watching this today, man, and you were where I was 4.5, 5 years ago, where, yeah, I like the idea of some of these things, man, but I just continue to stay where it's comfortable. And yeah, I break promises to myself a lot. Man, I was there for a long time. The best thing about being a human being, in my opinion, is you are one committed decision away from saying, this thing ain't going to be my story anymore. I'm going a different route. This is the direction I'm headed. So I would urge you to turn the video off in a second here, pause, get it on paper, the thing you're going to accomplish. I remember, guys, I can pull this out. This is every week I go through. This is what I'm going to accomplish each day, Monday through Saturday. That's what I'm going to accomplish. You can do the same. Write out what you're going to accomplish. Promise yourself that's what you're going to do. Doesn't mean if you lose a little sleep, doesn't mean if you lose a little friend, doesn't mean whatever that is, you're going to pay the price to get it because that's the life you want to create. And once you solve this and you keep that integrity to yourself, when you promise you, it's done. Doesn't matter. One of my best friends and a guy that I actually run this community with, Mike Schiff, I told him, man, one thing I loved about him from early on, he's been one of my best friends now for 2.5, 3 years. I never think twice about it. When Mike Schiff tells me, hey, man, I'm going to do this thing, I've never once thought, since I've known him, he's never not kept his word to himself or me or anybody. I thought he was insane, to be honest, when he came to me a year ago and said, hey, man, I'm going to do an Ironman next year. I thought, bro, you got a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. You work a full-time job. You run side hustles. You run social media. Where are you going to find the time? But I never doubted that he would finish it. And day after day, I saw this dude get up at 3 in the morning, 3:15 in the morning. He's out on his bike. We're on hosting calls in the arena, and he's out there on his bike in the garage, sweating it out, doing it, just putting in the work to do it. And, I'll never forget a conversation we had after he finished that it wasn't really important to anybody else. Like, dude, his wife, his kids, they're still going to love him the same, whether he quit the Ironman or thought it was too hard or not. But he promised himself. And if you want to be a high integrity guy, you want to be the kind of person that you really want to be, this is where you need to start. When I promise myself I'm not eating the junk food, I don't eat the junk food. When I promise myself I'm getting up in the morning and working out, I'm getting up in the morning. There isn't any other option. I forget who said it, but it's one of my all-time favorite quotes. And I'm going to end on this, man. But it was a really famous athlete one time, and they said, what makes you different? What is that thing that just sort of clicks with you? Might have been Kobe Bryant. I don't know. Fact check me. I remember this interview, and they said, well, you're not the most talented guy. You're not the fastest or the strongest or whatever. So what makes you an elite of elite? And he said, there's one thing. If you put me on a treadmill next to somebody else and you say, first one to stop loses, he says, I die or I win. And he said, in essence, everything I've been saying right now is when I promise myself I'm going at something, there's no plan B. This is the option. I've promised myself I have to keep my word to myself. So I would urge you to attack life and approach life with that kind of intention, that kind of intensity. Guys, we're here one time. I just hit 40 a couple months ago, man, a few months ago. And I'm like, if you really think about it statistically, I'm halfway through my journey, most likely, God willing. It goes fast. It's the blink of an eye. So don't get to the end of your life and think, I wish I would have written the book. I wish I would have seen how great I could have been at this thing, or started the business, or got in shape, or healed the relationship, or whatever that thing is for you. So I'm urging you today to take those necessary steps, have that integrity to yourself. Don't fear the feedback that might come your way, and anything is possible for you. If you have any questions or where to start with any of this stuff, just let me know. I'm happy to help out, answer any questions I can, or point you to a direction of somebody who can. You guys go have the greatest day of your life. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Let's go get it.